Yeah, as you can see, something different for our fourth iteration, our very first female-only panel. And it's all about women in robotics leading engineering and shaping the future. Now, we have a lot to get through, so we're just going to dive right in, and I'll let you know who we have here with us. We have them all sitting in the right order, something I might have done wrong last time, if you remember. So on the far side, we have Roberta from Rockwell. Then next to her, we have Susanne from Universal Robots, Kateryna from Women in Robotics, and Caren from Lorch, Schweißtechnik GmbH. I'll let you read their job titles as we go along. That'll save us a bit of time. Ladies, I want to start by getting to know you all a bit better, or more specifically, how you actually came to be involved in robotics in the first place. Susanne, I'd like to start with you, because I think your story has got something to do with your grandfather, right?
Yeah, so first of all, I think like if we ask the question to all the men here, it's a bit the same. I was always curious. I liked, when I was small, playing with building blocks, and I thought dolls are very boring. So, and then later math was my favorite subject at school, so that's why I became an engineer. I think a lot of people can relate to that here, no matter if men or women, but my grandfather was a big supporter, as he was a designer at a ball bearing company, and he was drawing by hand at this point of time. Mm-hmm. And so he once, I think I was around 5, he showed me one of these huge drawings. It was a paper like that, maybe. And for some reason, I was super excited, and I looked at it, and then later, so he saw that interest in technical stuff. My parents were not technical at all. And so he supported it, and he, for example, started building machines out of card boxes with me. And I liked it.
Great, but it seemed to work. Thank you for being here. Roberta, how about you? Where does your passion for robotics come from?
It's been a long journey. Let's say that curiosity is the driver, right? Mm-hmm. And behind curiosity, I mean, the universities, so my background is automation and machine design, and robotics was one of the major courses. And on top of that, during my studies in China, I had also the opportunity to do my thesis, master thesis in a robotics company, right? So testing, the overall workflow, and then when I was listening all the business lead behind on driving the industry needs using robots and so on, so I was really shocked. And and there, I think when I got the opportunity also to start in automation, working for Rockwell, my background was motion, so machine design, commissioning, and robotics is a device in the overall integrated architecture, bringing the overall workflow and value behind the CPG industry, life science, and so that was mainly the journey. And as it is today, I'm working with different teams, bringing the overall value across safety, motion, and digital tools, and so on. So it's an overall evolution of capabilities, and this is impressive, how we are going.
Great. Well, it's great to have you here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caren, what about you?
I think many native speakers in the room can relate that when I was a child, I loved watching Sendung mit der Maus. And I was always most impressed by how do the stripes get into the toothpaste, how do you build a fire extinguisher, and this kind of automation was always my passion, so this is what I decided then to follow along in school and also university and my PhD. And nowadays I work with welding robots, actually collaborative welding robots, and I think this is the most impressive because that builds together all the worlds again. My grandfather also was actually a wood maker, so he was doing wood making, and I like that real workmanship is now getting the opportunity to be using automation as well, and that's actually my daily passion right now, to make the job so easy that any regular welder can be able to use a collaborative robot to finish the job and to help himself along the way.
Mm-hmm. And we've heard about welding before today, I think on 2 occasions,
yeah.
Bernd and Mike, and we'll be hearing more in just a minute. And for all of you who don't know Sendung mit der Maus, it's like an educational series for kids, but I think a lot of adults watch it as well. It's Make sure to check that out. Kateryna, slightly different question for you. If you could build a robot or design one that could do anything in your personal or private life, what would it be? I think it's an interesting answer.
I was already preparing the one that ladies answered. It was something new and thought, okay, need to improvise. But from the personal experience, I do believe it's a lot of parents in this room. And it doesn't matter if you have a toddler or teenager, a screen time is a problem. So if we could find a robot nanny that can entertain, doesn't matter the age, our toddlers, teenagers, or even find the pacifier for the newborn in the same time, and then give you a hug and not judge you, are you a working mom, or you're staying at home, are you a working dad, or you're helping, that would be a great robot to create.
A super nanny. Okay. And yeah, I think one or two of you might have seen a baby or two being carried around the conference. I believe one of them is yours, yes. Kateryna, and the other one is yours,
mine,
Caren,
yeah?
So I think I even saw him before in the room at the back.
Yeah,
somewhere.
he got a little...
Yeah, so maybe he'll be on the panel next year.
We'll see him around the next couple of days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kateryna, of course, how did you come to be involved in the whole robotics thing? You do, of course, get your own answer as well.
That's a very different story from ladies, because I even was dreaming about robot when I was a child, but I never got one. Back in USSR, where I was born, like they didn't give robots to girls. And then later through Korea, I was mostly motivated by possibility to travel and money. That's why I was working in consulting for quite a lot, and I graduated from business. Mm-hmm. So working in Hong Kong, in London, in Dubai, I was always in software and not hardware, and was always curious, who makes that hardware and what is it about? But I thought in that point of time it would be already too late to step in. And my sister, who has cerebral palsy, once told me that she had a great experience with robotic devices in the US, where the progress that she had was bigger in 3 months than in whole life that she had, because cerebral palsy is a chronic condition. And that was my first step in. I learned what that company is. It was a spin-off from ETH in Zurich. I applied for a job, wrote a motivation letter that my sister really benefited, so whatever I can do for you, just let me know. And I was a product manager in a robotic company there for 6 years. And now I'm in a completely different robotic company that is helping with inspection of critical infrastructure. And that's also very deep in my heart, because I was born in the year of Chernobyl, and I would like to avoid such incidents in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you so much to all four of you for being here today. Caren, I'd like to continue with you. So, I mean, obviously it's all about women in robotics. Now, I think we all know that basically on any level, women face several, often different problems that male employees would be challenged with. So, can you share with us, what do you think? What are some of the biggest obstacles that females need to overcome, and what can we do to actually make the situation better?
Mm-hmm. I think the obstacles are not so much on the female side, but rather it's a societal issue that we often see stereotypes happening. So I think all four of us and also all the other ladies in the room can tell horrifying stories about what happened in terms of, oh, you're probably the assistant of, and actually we're the engineer. So please refrain from assuming stuff like that. That would be really great. And I think the other one is believing in yourself and having people believe in you that you can do it. If you have an environment that always says, yeah, you can totally do this, then I think you can prosper easily. But oftentimes, even when we were a child at the dinner table, when you say, oh, I want to go into robotics, it might be even your own dad saying, are you sure you want to do that? And if you don't ask your son the same question, then I think this hinders the way of having people just go where their passion is. And I think this is one of the earliest possibilities to actually enable and empower your own daughters and your own nieces and your own goddaughters and any small girl you see around to be able to be here in a couple years' time and be taking part in this panel and in this audience as one of the key people in robotics.
Mm-hmm. Roberta, would you agree with all the stereotypes, role models sort of?
Definitely. I don't think that the barriers are on the technical side. I think there are a lot of women driving many technical initiatives, specifically on robotics. For example, the conference, the safety conference that actually is going on, and the ISO 10218 revision 2025. Also, Roberta Nelson from Universal Robot is driving a huge effort on making sure we have safety requirements on the robot vendor side and on the automation side. So no technical barriers. I think it's more on the social and some unconscious bias that we still have. So networking can help, definitely. Events like these, where we bring visibility about our contribution, daily contribution in robotics. The value of partnership, that's something that women are also driving across different industries and different, across the complete portfolio, right? So events, networking, role models. So I'm lucky in my company, we have many female roles in senior position, driving our business development, sales, technical department. We are also starting, bringing more visibility, but we have to work on numbers. That's for sure globally, raising more visibility and give also more credibility on our leadership in the technical role. 26%, that's mainly the percentage of women today bringing visibility, having visibility in a leadership role in robotics, and only 10% on the patent side. So that's something I think needs a little bit of work, but thanks to this event, I think we are bringing also this value higher. Thank you.
So I want to continue with what Caren said about passion. So my perspective is we should not force anyone into robotics if you don't have a technical interest. And that I have two sisters, so they have not been interested at all in technical stuff, and our parents did give us the same toys. So kind of we grew up in the same way. So I think the curiosity about technical things and about being interested in a career in robotics, for example, doesn't come from if you are a woman or a man. That doesn't matter. It's yourself. And but and this is why I don't see obstacles. Women can study whatever they want. So, but of course, still, as we are less women, that's a fact. So we need to have a look at visibility, and that's what I always did, for example. So you need to be on conferences, you need to network. I learned that a lot from my father, so for me it was always very natural to talk to people. And if you have a big network and you know a lot of people, there is not that many obstacles. And this is what I always internally try to teach other women. So teaching sounds a bit like I know everything, so that's not the case. But I always help other women to also get this started, to also coach them, to talk to each other, as of course that's a special network then, but I never would like to be just saying that women need to do it different. So it's the same, like also men need to network if they want to be successful.
Kateryna, you work a lot with policymakers or organizations like World Economic Forum, I believe, or the various cantons in Switzerland. What are your experiences with that side? Is it the same sort of stereotype role models, those sort of issues?
We're changing the topic from women to policies, or is the same?
No, because you do your work with organizations.
Yeah.
Is it maybe different to the others working with other businesses? Do you see the same issues?
I do believe there are some other organizations that is worth to mention to this crowd. Maybe they don't know about them. Women in Robotics this year supported World Robotic Olympiad. And now we're talking about networking, but to get to that level, to network with diverse crowds, not only women, you need to get those representatives high up there already interested in robotics. So those opportunities, maybe in the beginning they're equal, but it's quite important for fathers and mothers to think, would you like to bring, I don't know if there is in Germany, but in Switzerland there is Zukunftstag, like Day of the Future, your child to work, and then immediately for girls you think, maybe I bring her to marketing or design. Maybe you ask her where you should bring her and not think instead of her. And that's quite important because then we hear more or less the same voices in World Economic Forum or somewhere else, like year after year when I go there. Everybody are telling that we need more initiative to support women, but they think about adults. What about younger girls? From that perspective, we heard from Techmania, it's a school for robotics, coding, for all genders in Switzerland. And until teenage age, it's more 50-50. Girls and boys are interested, sometimes even more girls. But then they start being told that math is too difficult or physics is not for you. And they are looking into different directions, not always from their own choices, maybe from some stereotypes. So on the policy level, we cannot make much about it. But on the personal level, each of us can give opportunity to their daughters and sons that are equal.
Susanne, universal robots. First of all, actually, what about taking children to work at Universal Robots? What does it look like there?
My son is already 15. As I heard that they have 2 babies, I asked him for fun. You could come to the conference, and then you could carry me on stage. But he thought, no, I will stay at home. That's more fun as it's vacation time. No, I forgot the question. Sorry.
No worries. Taking children to work.
Take your children to work. There's one day in Germany where we did that, and my son was around 12. And so he came to the Munich office that we have here in Germany from Universal Robots, and I was just... that's the beauty of our robots, that they are pretty easy to program. And I just gave him to a colleague. He explained for like 2 minutes how it works, and then he could build his first application. And he was like, he was working for 2 hours, and then he had a small, like a palletizing application ready, and was very proud, of course. The other way around, I also brought one robot to the school, where I teach, like there was a course like that the kids get to know what the parents are doing, and we were playing like I just had one robot, so not every kid could try it, but I asked them always what to do, and they were so excited about this robot. It was really nice and beautiful, but I could not see that there's a difference between girls or boys, to be honest. Like, and my son, like it's like he doesn't want to become any technical. He doesn't look like becoming an engineer or whatever. So it's like life is how it is. This is what I mean. Like, I never told him not to become an engineer. So that's what I mean. It needs.
So, taking it on to a more general level now, staying with Universal Robotics. I mean, you are very much pioneers, I believe, in the field of collaborative robots in particular. So, how would you describe your role there as a company? How are you shaping the next generation of these automation technologies?
Yeah, so we just, when I heard that KIT is celebrating its 200th birthday, we are celebrating this year our 20th birthday. So kind of one zero less. But we are very proud, of course, of being the one of the inventors of collaborative robots. And what comes next is that we are now combining mobile robots, mobile autonomous robots from our sister company, EMEA, with our robot. This is already happening. And of course, AI, like we mentioned before, is one of the other big things. Robots need to be more adaptive. They need to be even more flexible. They need to be even easier to program than they are now. So that's the next things that we are looking for. And then, of course, you need stuff like edge computing, for example, to be able to realize that.
Roberta, looking forward the next 4 or 5 years, what do you see?
Okay, so the technology is evolving fast. So our main focus is always to bring value and a user experience that is really simplifying not only the configuration, the programming, but also the commissioning and the complete life cycle, right? So big trend like generative AI, physical AI, so all these AI concept, advanced AI-based path planning. So this is where I think robotics is going from an automation in machine kind of concept up to the general purpose robotics. So dexterity, for example, so generic object grasping. So I mean, if I close my eyes and I imagine in 10 years where robotics will be landing, for sure I see the value behind on having a robotics assistant, right? So a generic purpose. And I think also from the beautiful presentation we had the opportunity to listen today, this is where we are going, right? Advanced path planning, collaborative robotics. Today, when I think about where we stand on the different customer profile that we are serving. Robotics is not one. We have many flavors based on always the business case and customer profile and industry we are serving. So it's a journey. The business model is built on the type of robotics we serve. And the technology, I think, is there, is growing exponentially. So I don't think this AI is so far from building more general purpose robotics. Sustainability is still a key aspect today and will be more a key aspect later when we have also an extension of the capability. What else? I think, yeah, that's mainly where I think where we are landing. The user experience, I think, is always the key, right? The integration. At the end, the value of the integration, this is the main driver. So whatever we are landing, we have to make sure the user experience is the key driver. So not only the advanced lab technology, but this should be settled in a really customer-centric approach. So that's the way.
I'm sure the two of you will agree. So, Kateryna, it didn't take us long to get to AI. I mean, I think Christine right at the beginning said today and tomorrow is going to be all about AI. I think it was mentioned in every keynote so far. So, again, because you're involved with policymakers, etc., how do you think the robotics community as a whole can prepare for regulation of these AI-based robotic systems, but also at the same time help to shape the regulations in your favor?
Yes, so that's a very interesting question. I have been in panel during World Economic Forum in Davos, and AI House with AI Center put a roundtable discussion between manufacturers, policymakers, academia and others for a collaborative solution. And that's what we created. We created a guidance or white paper that was released last week for compliance for AI, for robotics companies with 10 different steps. I do believe that something like that can be done only together, and that's a living document. So currently, until the next World Economic Forum, there is a stage where every one of you can give a comment on that. For bigger companies like ABB, for example, it was easier because there is something in place. For smaller companies like I'm working in, it would be a great tool, because also a year ago we started being in a sandbox for Canton of Zurich, where we evaluated AI-EU Act, Data Act, Cybersecurity, Resilience Act, and there was no document that could structure it together. So it took a year to put together the recommendation from the government how to do it for other companies. But right now there is an easier way, this document, and I do believe that most of those things would be created together with those who are already creating a product that should be regulated in the future. So in that case, it will not stop in innovation, but it will give a safe pillar to products that we are creating, especially cobots and autonomous robots.
Now, Caren, obviously this whole AI thing is going to impact all the verticals, all the industries. Where do you see robotics currently making the biggest impact? Which type of business vertical are you particularly looking at there?
Since I'm building the product that goes into small and medium-sized companies, I think this is exactly where we see that in the next couple of years we need to democratize visibility and also accessibility for everybody. I mean, everybody here in this room has a high-level understanding of robotics and how you can program it. Many of you have probably programmed a robot yourself for a couple of years' time, or even back in the time where it was punch cards or really basic individual programming languages. And I don't think that kind of way to interact is suited for the whole population. But if we need to face skill labor shortages, then we cannot look into a specific product that only a really small amount of people can handle, but rather we need to democratize the way that we interact with a robot, with an AI-integrated robot. So I think integrating those two components together will be a really good way to achieve that. More and more people can take use of automation to make it more easy to use and make it more intuitive to tell the robot what would be helpful in the terms of production or assistance or any other kind of business. And I think we're on a good way already. And if we keep the user-centric idea in mind that a layman that you just run into in the street should be able to do it, then I think this is the right way to go. It's not engineering-centered that we need, but it's rather regular people and centered that we need coming up in the next years. Yeah.
Really democratizing it, as you said. And as soon as she said layman, your face lit up, Roberta. Are you agreeing, I assume?
Yeah, in terms of vertical industry, right? So, okay, if I think about all the motion control journey where robotics for me is fitting, right? So mechanical cam, and then intelligent motion control, and now we are landing to autonomy, right? So this concept of autonomy and the production logistics kind of vision, extending this robotics from the machine across the overall factory. So the different industry, yes, CPG, life science, this is, I think, still the core for low payload kind of application. Cobotics is raising up in warehouse and logistics, also high payload application. So I see this trend also raising up. New industry for robotics, construction. This is also surprising. So a lot of, I mean, also from the recent paper from the Robotics Forum. So construction is something that will raise up for sure. And advanced safety is, I think, crossing the overall industry now is a key core for robotics. So this concept of autonomy at the end is raising up, I think, new niche of business that I think we still need to discover. Healthcare also is a very, I think, huge market where robotics will raise up. And yeah, but I think the technology is ramping up so fast that we will be seeing soon additional markets raising for robotics.
Mm-hmm. Kateryna, when she said safety, I saw you nodding. I think you have a lot to do with these hazardous environment topics. So what would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do believe that we should start thinking about safety when we're designing the robot, not in the end when we're figuring out that something is not safe, right? And that's also what I believe can be an advantage for those robots that are produced in Europe, because we do care about that, particularly in Switzerland. Yes, maybe it will take longer, but then the implementation and adoption will be much faster, because we thought about that, we took into consideration the standards, we went through audits, through ISO processes, and then we're in the not so competitive space, because of course for the cheaper robots there is a huge competition from Asia, but I do believe that we have an advantage of building it safe here in Europe.
Mm-hmm. As you mentioned regions, Susanne, maybe we can pass it on to you. Where do you see the biggest growth markets at the moment? Is it also Europe?
Here in Europe, I think we need automation to survive. That's not a discussion. That's like kind of crucial for all of us. But besides that, where we see growth markets is in India, for example, Southeast Asia. And if I'm allowed to go back to the last question,
Please do.
It's really exciting that robots are not only in these existing industries like automotive, where they, of course, started to raise. And now, for example, robots are used not only in logistics, what you already mentioned, but also in other kind of strange applications that if you think in the beginning. For example, we have a robot, and that's also, we have a partner that did a speech control model, and so that you can control our robots with speech. And then I was, after they launched it in our ecosystem, and after an year I was asking, but who uses that? And then they told me, like, it's the film industry, like the movie industry. As for them, they don't need a lot of advanced control for robots. They put cameras on it and then have crazy angles that real cameramen can't do. But if they have speech control, for them it's just much easier. But in harsh environments, in a production line, it's difficult. There it's loud, it's whatever, a lot of noise who could disturb something like that. So, and also, like, this year, our robots were, for example, used, that's another exciting use case, for the production of a music video. They put mirrors on our robot arms, on 20 robots. And then these mirrors made such interesting angles that that was how they produced the music video. It was entertainment, yeah.
So that's like, also another one.
People do stuff with robots that you cannot have in mind before. So that's
okay.
What I always like. But yeah, India, Southeast Asia. Back to your question.
Yeah, no, sure. Fine. You brought up use cases. Caren, you have a use case which is welding. And as I said before, Bernd and Mike, in their presentations, they spoke briefly about welding. So if we look at that in particular now, where do you see the challenges? I mean, is it like a war between welders and programmers now?
Yes, it is.
No,
of course not.
And how are these? How are collaborative robots going to hopefully help your industry rather than destroy them? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think welding is a well-cited application in not just research, but also in regular application, trying to make sure that automation has the best bang for the buck, if I may say so. Because welding itself is one of the things that people really want to keep doing for many, many years. So if you're really into welding, that's really cool. And it's a really high, it takes high toll on you because it's dirty, it has fumes, usually it's heavyweight, usually it's working conditions that don't have a nice, clean office space, but rather you're working right in the factory, it's loud, it's noisy, and if you're really knowledgeable and skilled on that level, then it's hard to really stay in this field for 40 plus years. So especially looking at younger generations, I don't think it's the most attractive job profile that we'll have on field in the next couple of years. Saying that, welders are really, really worthy for the job they do, because it's not something that you can easily automate and just put a robot to do. I have a saying that I often repeat, that people that know how to reprogram robots, they're really one of a kind. There are not so many in the world. And if you actually have a skilled welder that knows what to do, you have also a really skilled crowd in the world. And rarely do those two circles ever overlap. If they do, I think you found the unicorn. And if you found the unicorn, I can guarantee you that when you have them in your company, the company on the other side of the street, they will offer them much more money, and he'll be gone by the next day. So this is a challenge that many of our customers face. They want to do welding, skilled welding, and they still want to have a competitive way to produce, but they face the challenge in, if I go into automation, then I don't have anybody to program the robot, or I have to have external people come in and then pay extra money for it. And this is where our product comes in, or the collaborative robots especially come in, because they have a really easy-to-use interface. And in our development, we make sure that, like an app on your phone, it's so easy to prep everything on your workpiece that it's easy to just show the robot, like I would say when you have a helper in the workshop and you say, hey, this is how you hold the torch. You go from here to there in this velocity. This is exactly what you tell your robot, and then the robot can do it again, 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 making it also really attractive for the welder to work with it, because to be quite honest, if you do the same workpiece again and again and again, it's quite nice if it's 1 or 2 times, it's a challenge. If it's 20 times, you say, yeah, okay, we have a break soon. But if it's a big, big box of 500 pieces and you have to do the same thing again and again, I don't think any of the welders are really up for the job and say, yeah, that was fun, but rather they happily say, I'll teach the robot, I'll watch 1 or 2 pieces while in production to check everything's good, and the other 497, let's just go up to the next workpiece that's really complicated and that's only one of a kind, and I'll go and do that instead.
And in order for your programmers or the operators to do this, again, accessibility is key. Kateryna, what would you say are the most important factors in making robotics more accessible to a wider population?
In the company where I'm working, we work with particular use cases. So I do believe that in that case, for people who work in the critical infrastructure, it's quite important to have the conversations up front and to understand their problems, and to be sure that not everyone there has an engineering degree. So to operate the robot should be super easy. From the other perspective, to bring robots to research organizations is very important. That's how new applications are coming up. They are much faster. They don't need to go through regulation process, but then they can give the inspiration for final users or for us to use that application and make it commercially available. So probably those 2 interesting use cases I would like to bring.
How about you?
So robots still need to become easier, like so that they can be democratized and used by everyone. Like we already mentioned that before, but like the example with the labs is pretty good from my perspective. In labs, there we have highly educated people, but they are not educated in robotics, and so using the robot needs to be super intuitive, like every other machine that they have there, to be successful. And to get to a point where it's so easy, there's 2 options. Like one is that we in future will use these large language models, and so that we can. There's already partner companies that we talk to that work on. I would say that you have like something like a robot GPT, so that you can tell what you want to do, and then it's kind of transcripted into robotics code. That will be one direction, and the other is that we have solutions like what Caren and Lorch is working on, so that for a specific application like welding, it's already super easy. You don't need to be skilled on robotics, and that will come more and more. So these turnkey solutions and easier programming via AI-supported programming.
Yeah, this is a huge question, in the sense that it depends on the type of profile, right? So for students, yes, some visual approach, as my colleagues said, and visual approach, having a user experience that is starting more on the design level with tools in the software, on the software side for designing, for sizing. So I think the visual is very important, not only for programming, also for the configuration, the sizing of the application. So having students that have the overall, let's say, experience from the design up to the configuration, up to the programming, it's not only, okay, I do my pick and place. It's I choose the right robot, this is my cell, this is the application, this is what the robot should do, this is how the robot is interacting with all the safety, the components, all the components in the cell, making the application, right? So it's an overall journey also from an application standpoint, tracking, concept of tracking. So this is on the student side, right? So more competency on the overall journey. not only programming, because programming is just a piece of all the user experience, right? If we are talking about specifically machine builder, we have seen some presentation today. The approach is different. They are really PLC oriented, so standardization, having a code that simplification of the instructions, nomenclature. So I think this is something that would really help them, and I'm glad about the progress we have done so far on having a more let's say, consistent approach in robotics across the different platforms. So that's on the PLC side, on having an overall user experience where the PLC is still the main component, but on top of that, there is a huge scope of application that we can serve with different robot vendors. So this is mainly, I think, the driver on the machine builder side. On the end user kind of profile, it's an overall complex configuration of components, box that they can configure, all plug-in solutions, so low code, no code kind of tools that can help them on having, let's say, flexibility on the overall factory level kind of. And so welding, for example, is a plug-in solution out of box. So they, on the PLC side, the value is owning, right? So, and as soon as we have more consistency across the language, the nomenclature, how we use robotics, which kind of robotics, and how the robotics is fitting in the overall application, I think that's the main, that's how we make robotics more accessible in the field.
And you've already touched upon many of the obstacles that are really preventing these new technologies from being launched so easily. Maybe we can look at a few of the others. I don't know, Susanne, are there any that come to your mind that Roberta hasn't mentioned yet?
So I've recently been on a conference where there were a lot of startups and VCs, and a common challenge, especially here in Europe, was that, of course, the regulations here are more difficult than somewhere else in the world. So on one side, that's very good, but it can also be a challenge. I think that's at least a very important point that we need to keep in mind. But besides that, like what I said, like it just needs to be even, like another challenge is still, we did a survey recently, and it's still, integration is still not easy, integration of robotics. That's like, yeah, I hear that for the last 5 years maybe already, but it's not solved yet, not completely. We are moving in that direction, and of course turnkey solutions help, but not everything fits into such a turnkey solution. There's always like the 80% that are simple, and for example, if you look at pelletizing, it's an application that's 80% is very simple to solve, and robotics pelletizing is nothing special. So a lot of companies can solve that, but then the last 20% is still always a bit customized, and so most of the time there's still some integration needed, and that's where we still have a challenge. It's not solved yet, not completely.
Caren, would you agree on the whole integration cost aspect?
Yeah, I mean, our go-to, or what is our advantage in the setup is that we did the integration thinking in a whole box of our application. We have a toolbox where you can pick and choose what you want, and we basically went through all the options that are possible and can supply many of them out of stock right away. But as Susanne says, if it's a really, really particular case, it needs engineering specifically for one customer, and that's always a challenge, because this means that people that are skilled, that have previous expertise on these topics, need to sit down with the customer, discuss what's possible, what is within budget, what is within timeline, what are things that are still not possible with this solution, but do they cover 80% of the use case, or do we have to find another way to work with it? This is great, because this business means that we still have to do it with people, so people and people need to talk, but also we need the expertise, and I think this is most needed, to have people that are skilled also here within Europe, so that we can still tackle our challenges that are not solvable out of the box.
Yeah. Kateryna, anything to add on the obstacles preventing accessibility?
Yes, like finishing the cycle of engineering and everything, we should always look in the business components, and business models should be taken into consideration from the very beginning. In few previous companies where I was working, there was always a challenge between capital investment into the robots or robots as a service or leasing. So all of those options needs to be in the table, and while building solutions, you need to think how you will be selling them in the future and how to scale it globally, because in some countries there are tenders, in other countries it's not so big problem, the labor cost, and for other countries the labor cost is a problem. So it's always, if you go for the global markets, you need to know localization.
Okay. We're going to open it up for questions in just a minute, but I'd like to finish with one more, because you've spoken about it a few times already. I think you mentioned students, for example, Roberta, so job profiles a bit. Which job profiles do you think are going to be the most important ones in future? And maybe also any message you want to send to any upcoming females in the industry?
Okay, so the background is, I have to say, with this exponential raise up of technology, I think the background will be changing. So before was a repetitive task, now is not a repetitive task, now it's more. So is robotics, is autonomy, so advanced, let's say, an eye on more advanced technology, that's for sure. The ethical portion, and the human-centric design is another big portion, I think. So creativity. One obstacle is that we are asking a lot on the technical side, but at the end we are building product, right? So having also an eye on some more commercial angle, and not on the user experience, so the overall robotics, but also on how we make sure whatever is technology driven has also a customer value behind, right? So that's something I think next generation will need to think. Standardization, having data security, so all the technical background, but on top of that, how we bring, the question always should be how this technology will bring value, right? So that's something I think students and women for sure also, I hope soon better, will have to think about.
Okay, Susanne, skills of the future, what do we need?
Yeah, so I think first of all, we need people who are curious and are excited about tech and building things for the future in general. But you don't need to be an engineer from my perspective to have a great career in robotics. So we also need other people, like no one can solve that alone anymore. We also need marketing people who can write great, great things. We need project managers. We need people who are super good in tech. We need people who can translate that to other functions. Of course, you need salespeople, and it's no one can solve that alone. So it will be there's everybody welcome in robotics from my perspective who is interested and curious.
Thank you.
I would agree with Susanne. We don't need to be superhumans. We just need to be humans, and we need to work with empathy in collaboration. We need to hear voices of others. And in teams, we can make much more than we can make on our own. So in that case, it's important to recognize experience and talents of everybody who is present in the table, and more diverse voices, there would be better product we can create.
Thank you. Caren.
I think thinking ahead in the future, none of us can even imagine what in 10 years' time will be the topics that are on stage here. So I think lifelong learning and the willingness to tackle new challenges and also to have critical thinking is most important to not be currently successful, but also be equipped for a future that we all don't really know what's going on. I think that's quite exciting. I hope that most people agree with me that it's exciting that we don't know where AI and automation and whatever we can do in robotics is taking us, but also this needs that we need to be available for change and be up for it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Now we have around about 10 minutes left, so I'd now like to open it up to you here and also to our online guests. If there's anything you'd like to ask our colleagues here, then now would be the time. Do we have anyone here in the room who has a question for our panel? Don't be shy.
Now we have got so many men here. Women have been talking for 50 minutes now. It would be really cool if we have you. Here we go.
Thank you, Xava.
What do you think about China? So China is it a competition or is it a collaboration?
I don't know who wants to take it. You decide amongst yourselves, or you can all answer it.
I can start.
Yeah, please.
So I'm talking now on behalf of the company where I'm working. I do believe that it really depends on the use case. So if the use case is very, very difficult and there is no price sensitivity, then there is no competition there currently, because many companies that really need inspection would select company that will not go through the compliance or will not respect some of the rules. But if it's in the different level for service robots or something like that, it's a big competition. I used to work in Hong Kong for 6 years, and I have seen how fast things are done in Asia. And after that, working in London and here in Europe, things are quite slow.
Yeah, I can add few words. So for me, it's a partnership in the sense that it depends on, the use case for sure, but also the market is a little bit different, right? So as Rockwell, we have different business case across the different regions, as well as different product capabilities based on the market that we are serving. So also we have partnership in robotics specifically for Asia Pacific regions. So is a dedicated market, but on top of that, as the others in the panel, they said it's really depending on the use case, right? But as automation supplier, we have specific market with specific partnership, with specific customer requirements that are fulfilled with a different portfolio. So it's really depending on the requests.
Susanne, Caren, anything to add on China?
I think covered well. I think it's a competition, but maybe also to keep us on our toes. I don't know if it translates well, but I think it's a short thought, zu kurz gedacht, if you think everything coming from China is lesser quality technology. Rather, it's the other way around, and we have to keep up. And I think still Europe is a value technology area, so we know that we have high skill and expertise, and let's keep on working on it and see it as a competition to keep moving ahead.
So like we are global operating companies, so of course we have colleagues working in China and we collaborate with them. So.
Okay, thank you. Christine, is there anything coming in online while you pass the microphone over?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
I have to look right into the camera to speak to those online participants. Hey, where are you? Give us some questions, please.
Thank you. So my question goes in the same direction. So what about the manufacturing of robotic here in Germany or in Europe in general? So we see actually that we are not competitive in terms of costs. And the discussion goes always about AI and how to scale up the AI in the software side. But somebody has to build these robots and to build it on a, let's say, a good competitive cost level. So how do you see that in the future?
Whoever wants to go first.
For us is in Lorch, Schweißtechnik, we're made in Germany, the power sources and also the systems are built up here because we think that's a quality sign that we give our customers. Also, it means that when you have something installed in Germany, then you have service with just a call away, and I think this is more necessary than ever in these times, that it's not a overseas shipment that needs to be sent back and forth, or many translations need to go on, but rather you have somebody to call right in your neighborhood And I think that will be valued for a long time.
So like as maybe a lot of people know, Universal Robots was founded in Denmark. So we have a production in Denmark where we assemble robots. And of course, we use our own technology so that robots can help doing that. And like I said, it's crucial in Europe so that we stay competitive, that we automate. And this is how it can be managed from my perspective.
Kateryna or Roberta, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, in our case, made in Switzerland is a sign of advantage and not disadvantage. It's kind of a competitive opportunity that we're using. And yes, for somebody, cost is a crucial part where they make a decision, but not for the most of the customers that we have.
Yeah, I think this question was more for the colleagues in the panel. From my side, I mean, we are not robotics vendor, but we promote the power of integration, so working with different partners, and the value proposition, I think, is raising up when we have multiple robots in the same application. That's the scalability. I think that's the main driver. On the connected solution, I think the context is a little bit different and very well explained by the colleagues. So in the unified robot control approach, yes, definitely scalability, multiple integration is ending up on having a better value proposition for the solution as well as positioning.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And thanks for your insights, by the way. Very interesting ones. I have one question. We have been talking the whole day about AI and robotics and more AI, which is fine. But there are thousands, if not millions, of robots and automated systems that don't have AI embedded in their capabilities. What would you recommend to upgrade those systems to be able to give them some degree of autonomy? I mean, I'm not saying the full thing, right? But at least revamp those systems if they don't have the adequate electronics and embedded AI solutions. Okay, and thanks.
Question to the whole panel, to anyone? Okay.
I'm coming from the machine tool background a couple of years back, and I think retrofit is already a big issue with machine tools. If you have a machine tool that's about 25 to 30 years, you don't want to have it running on Windows 95 or something like that again, and you want to be able to have serviceable parts. So people are already taking old hardware and equipping it with new control theory. I don't see that this would be not possible with an industrial robots. It's, to dumb it down, it's just moving parts, just like a machine tool, but rather it's rotary joints for most of the industrial robots. So I think if it's sensible for the application to upgrade the control box and to equip it with new functionality, should be done down the road.
If I can add something, yeah, it's I agree. Depends on the application. Depends on the application. Depends on the geometry. Definitely for multi-robots, 6-axis, I see very well a retrofit. I mean, a migration plan to a more advanced AI-based planner, especially if you have a cooperation with a human, right? So if the context is a multi-delta packaging machine with a profile that is already advanced to handle I mean, an high rate peak per minute, I think that's something we can discuss, right? So yeah, when there is a human interaction, that's definitely the use case for a migration plan, as well as high payload, dangerous, let's say, application. That's also the use case where I think an advanced proposal. It will be complementary. It will be a migration, I suppose will be a migration plan that will be complementary at the beginning, but then it will be so embedded in the future that I think will be scalable also for basic operation. That's, I think, what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's depending. Like if you don't need it, there's no need to upgrade it. If you have a running system that is doing a very kind of pretty easy application, you will not need to restructure and rethink and just use AI as you want to. You should do it in the use cases where it's needed. And there, it's a question of compute power from my perspective. And as someone already mentioned, I think you or Caren, you can buy, for example, from us, a new control box, and then you have this power available, and then you can start with AI tools using with your robot, and you can just go. That's not a big problem from my perspective, but it needs to make sense.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Nothing
No?
to add.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay, then just being conscious of time, I think we're going to wrap it up now, but I think all of our panelists are going to be here for a few more minutes, hours maybe, so make sure to grab them in one of the next networking breaks, which in fact the next one is now. But first I want you to give our four ladies here a really big round of applause. Thank you for being here today.